Okay, I begin again showing some of the orb pictures I have been taking and some of the more recent ones. It's always a journey into fascinating colors and interesting configurations of light. Now, anyone viewing this for the first time would say, that's not an orb, because they associate the orb with something that's only round and that has the little concentric lines around the outer edges of it. But this is the orb. I'm just real close up inside of the orb, and the orbs stretch and distort themselves in such ways that it's hard to see that it's an orb anymore. It's fascinating. There's several orbs you're seeing. They're all like entangled with one another. I use a lot of different kinds of cuts of glass, like it may be something similar to this, or to this little thing right here that's a candle holder. The more intricate the glass is that you use, the different shapes of orbs you're going to get, because it seems that the light follows a pattern that the glass sets it. But it still shows the light as orbs are energy traveling about within the glass. And it's very interesting. Now, if you just use something round, you get mostly just round orbs. Like if you use a marble that's round, you will always get round orbs. So the shape the glass is that you use, be it a candle holder or a wine glass or whatever it is, does have a lot to do with determining the shape of what kind of orbs you're going to see. Also, you don't need glass only. It could be anything that shines. I was in the pool the other day and I took a picture of the water that collected on the hairs of my arm, and that turned into orbs when the sunlight was shining into that water. That takes the shape of an orb. Anything that shines. It could be porcelain, or it could be metal. Anything that makes a concentration of light in one spot or many spots, and it's just gleaming, shining. Well, that shining place is full of a concentration of light orbs. And it's interesting to look at these with a digital camera. Now, I will explain again, because you might not want to go and look at all my old videos where I tell how I do this. It's really simple. I take a digital camera and I have a light source, and sometimes it's the sun if I'm outdoors. But it's harder to see my viewer when I'm filming outdoors because the sun is so bright that it keeps me from being able to see what I'm capturing in the viewer. But I have managed to get several orbs outside, but mostly in the afternoon when the sun is lower in the sky. But you don't need the sun for your light source. You can have any light, especially the LED lights that are so intense. And mostly that's what these are from. A little LED light that I have in my room. And then I have it dark mostly in the room with just that LED light on. And I can see the rays of light as they come out from the LED light. And I focus the camera on a shiny part of a glass object with that light between me and the glass object. And I don't open the shutter. You don't want extra light to come in, because the extra light is like being outside. You get too much light in your picture and then you can't see anything. So you take the picture with your shutter closed and you focus up on the shiny part of the light that's on the glass or whatever object it is. You focus up very close. The closer you get, the bigger it shows it. you can see more of the entire thing if you don't get quite so close in, because I get so close. Some views I have, I'm actually focused on the inside of an orb, like these that are coming by. Some of them are that way. I've gone all the way up into the orb itself to see the little telltale lines, that concentric lines that all orbs seem to have. It's along the outer edges of it, but those lines are also within the orb in many different colors as well. And some people say, well, what you're getting is just light, like that was no big deal. But I've challenged them, well, you make pictures like this. Let's see what you can do. I would love to see someone's pictures that they take. And as I look at this light and all the colors that are in it, I think, wow, all the color is the light in the light that's just all around us. And since everything is made of light, actually it's like I'm light looking at light. We're all made of light. And it's a form of energy. And the colors are different frequencies and different vibrations. All of this is very meaningful, but don't ask me what all the colors mean or the configurations. I just observe it. That's all I do. I do a little conjecturing as to what it might be. Like I entitled this video, "The Light Inside of the Center of the Atom," or something to that effect, because I was reading in metaphysical literature the other day, and Serapis Bey, who is an ascended master, said that in the center of an atom, in the center of the atom at the nucleus, is an electronic ball of fire. And that sounded like something I could resonate with, because I'm seeing all this color. It looks very fiery sometimes. Also, it looks watery. It looks like I'm looking through liquid. And I'm so happy that the camera can pick this up, because I also see this with my third eye. I see light without using a camera, without using even a gleam off of a glass object. I see light doing all kinds of fantastic things. And I know that light is a very important subject, and something that we're going to be learning more and more about and experiencing, and having felt experiences with this light. And it is amazing. It is amazing how it makes little patterns. Sometimes you even can imagine you see a little face in it going by. And you never get the same orb picture twice. It's always different. When I go to photograph the light this way, I'm always amazed at something different that I will capture that I've never had seen before that light does. It's like it's always putting on a spectacular play for my senses of vision. Although looking at it, looking at all the color going by, can sometimes make me very, very drowsy. If there was nothing more than the artistic value of that, that would be great, because this is art, the way this light moves, and the way the orb just flows and lets its colors flow out of it. Sometimes big holes form in an orb where the color just drains out, maybe into another orb. Maybe it just disappears, or maybe some blackness that, like a shadow, creeps over the orb, and the orb just sort of, what shall I say, it sort of integrates it into itself. I've had a lot of thoughts about the dark and the light as I viewed these orbs. And without the dark, you don't get the color. If you just had light, you would just have whiteness. You wouldn't have all the various colors. When I take these pictures and I put them on my computer, they're not as colorful or as pretty as you see them now, because I have to adjust the light. The darkness and the light I have to make adjustments to. I have to take out some of the light and increase the darkness. And that makes it all come into a distinctness. It looks more clear and the colors emerge better. And it makes me think too that the light and the dark can dwell together and mutually benefit one another. If we felt that way about what we call dark in our life, we would see how we should look more at the dark and try to understand and try to not just hate that we see as being dark, but integrate some of the ideas that are good, that are disguised in the dark. I was thinking of the idea of the word perfect the other day, and I thought, well, you know, to say something is perfect is to take away its ability to be anything more than it is at that moment when you call it perfect, because it's like that's the end result. That's all it can be. That's its limitation. And then when you think about the word perfect and how that relates to how everyone considers things, what is perfect for one is not perfect for another. And so perfect isn't what I strive for, because if perfect, say, meant balance, completely in balance, even that is not what I strive for, because after reading so much about balance in the many metaphysical books I read, I have read that never does nature want to catch itself in that condition of being in perfect balance, because when you're in perfect balance, you're done. You would cease to be a physical reality if you're in perfect balance. So nature never lets itself get caught in perfect balance. And if you look at the markings on animals and things, and they don't follow a balanced pattern as far as it being geometrically precise, what the marks on a giraffe are, or the marks on a zebra. They're not the same from one to the next. They're similar, but not perfectly the same. Sameness is not a thing that happens very often, or maybe not at all, in nature. Sameness seems to be unachievable. No two snowflakes the same, no two grains of sand the same, no two leaves on a tree the same. But then that's life. That is evolution. Everything is constantly in motion. And there's so many parts to everything when you get down to the atomic structure of it, that it would be impossible to arrange everything to be in sameness, and it would be boring. And it's that way with people. It's more interesting when there's a diversity of beliefs and looks and appearances of people. As long as people can live with diversity and not hate someone who is different than them. Because diversity is interesting. It makes life more fun, more interesting. It would be a very boring place to live if everyone had to be the same. it would be a very unfair place to be living in this world if everyone had to believe the same, act the same, make their laws so that everyone has a legal obligation to feel the same way about things. I'm kind of happy today because they did away with DOMA. And DOMA, that is marriage equality. It has to do with people's rights to marry whoever they love, even if it's a same-sex person, which I'm all for. And if people think it is offensive to marriage, then they don't have to think that way if no one's forcing them to marry any particular person. But if they want to say only marriage between a man and woman is something we'll recognize, then they're denying the rights of other people. But none of their rights are being taken away. They can still marry as they choose. They shouldn't think that it threatens marriage. Lots of things threaten marriage, financial problems, all kinds of things. And to say that the fact that people can marry of the same sex threatens marriage is just a little bit ridiculous. All throughout nature you see that there is a lot of happenings between nature where same-sex couples in nature enjoy one another's company for a lifetime. I was being told about something the other day that wasn't what. I'm trying to think what kind of animal it was. Oh yeah, flamingos. There was a couple of flamingos who were both male that had stayed together many, many years. They were like married. And they had kids. And they were very good parents. But you know how they got their kids is they stole the eggs of other flamingos, or else they may have taken abandoned eggs. But they were very good parents, even though the two flamingos were both dads. I was talking to my daughter the other day about there's so many videos I watch on YouTube that show different animals caring for another species of animal and loving them so much, and how the little dolphins in the ocean love cats and dogs. I've seen them on a cat on a boat that was loving up to a dolphin who kept swimming up and caressing the cat, sort of. And a sea otter that just came on a person's boat and just wanted to be petted like a favorite pet or something. It's the animal kingdom, and it's showing us how to love one another, even though we're different. So maybe it's always been that way, but I kind of think this is a recent thing. My daughter pointed out that, oh yeah, well now we have the internet and we have cameras, and everybody's telephone's a camera, so everybody is getting pictures of all this interaction between different kinds of animals. And that might be why we're seeing so much more of it. But I do think it is also something that is recent, that animal behavior has changed over the years. And maybe they're the way showers to show us humans how we can get along with other species of human. People, that meaning people that we disagree with or that we don't look like. There certainly is the need for people to be united in their diversity, and not to just say that everything has to be like I call it. Because then religious doctrines and dogmas control people, and they are the government. They are an oppressive government when religious zealots get a hold of their beliefs and putting and trying to put them into law. And they have succeeded in doing that in many countries. It seems like lately, though, in our country, that is what is beginning to happen. They're wanting to take rights away from women over birth control and over abortion and all kinds of things that they need to back out of because it's not their body. They should give people freedom. Even freedom to make a wrong choice. Now, I'm not saying it's right or wrong to abort. People have many different reasons, and they have to live with whatever choice they make. But that's still their choice. It's not anyone else's but the person. And to take that right away and say that you know better for them is so wrong. I have a meeting that this September I will be seeing my sisters. And we'll get together. We don't often get together because we live far apart. And in the past, when we've gotten together, we have had discussions about politics and religion, and it's caused arguments, and we have none of us have enjoyed arguing with one another and getting mad even. And we don't want it to happen when we see each other again. And the last time that we saw each other, we were very careful not to mention those two subjects. But really, it's like the elephant in the middle of the room that we have to ignore. Because so many things nowadays center around some political decision or whatever's going on with the weather even has indications that someone believes that, well, this is some biblical reason why this weather is this way. And so there's very little we can talk about. I would love to be able to talk to them. I would love for them to watch some of my videos, but they don't. They don't want to delve into things they consider that could be demonic. And so, end of discussion. We don't get to talk about much because of their fear. And I have a fear too. I have a fear of discussions with them that turn negative and where we're not enjoying each other's company and that our time together gets wasted, so to speak, because we don't enjoy it when we get argumentative about anything. And so in the past we've learned that lesson. Don't do that because you won't have a good visit. So I'm very curious how we will be able to get along come September this year when we get together. For my part, I'm not going to bring up the subject. The elephant can stand right there in the middle of the room wearing polka dot shorts or a broad brim hat of many colors and flowers, but I won't notice it. I'm just going to be happy and share what I can. Most of my life is about the discoveries I've made with this light and everything. I would love to show them videos that I've made like this one. But I know, before I even would begin, I know they're not wanting to look at anything like that. But more and more, it's like the fundamentalist believers are hiding from the information that is so abundantly available and so on internet, on this YouTube. There's so many discussions. There's channelings, all kinds of really good information coming through. Some of it not so good. But still, They run from it. And it's even, I've thought this lately, that it's a little bit, well, it's a lot wrong to try to force them to recognize or look at anything until they're ready. Even talking about it to it, it's like talking to a brick wall. They just shut you down. They don't listen. You could give them visual evidence and still they'll just say the devil did it. Or it's all the work of the devil. He can appear as an angel of light. Now, I had a story come to me through automatic handwriting, which I did tell my sisters, and I even gave them a copy of it that I had made up. And it was all through automatic handwriting, where I was folding a piece of paper, and each fold of the paper into a dove told a story about mankind and about the new age versus those that want to stay inside their boxes and don't want to do anything but hold on to old dogma and religious viewpoints of hundreds of years ago that have been altered and changed. All the words of the Bible, those books that were chosen for it, even just in the choice of what to put in there, there's a lot to question. But we can't talk about that. A lot of people are talking about it, and if they happen up on some of those videos, well, they might just get educated. Science now, quantum physicists are coming to some of the conclusions that the ancient mystics have always said, that everything is one and everything is light. And we all are one, which is a very great need for us to know our oneness with our fellow man. And it's not just with our fellow man, it's with everything that exists in this world and any other world. We're one with it. And there are many worlds, there are many dimensions. I think looking at this light, I'm looking into another dimension. Because this is invisible to us. While it's right here around us, all this color, all these patterns, all the way light travels, it's all around us. And it's hidden invisibly in things that shine. Which is kind of fun to think about. Where the truth is where it is shining. It's shining for us to see, but we have not examined the shine. And we can examine it, but we don't need a big Hadron Collider to show what atoms mingling and entangling themselves together looks like. All we need is a little digital camera and a light. That's all we need. Very simple. Sometimes when I look at this light, I see little things that seem to be alive inside of it. They move about. And even just the colors, they move and change from one color to another just all the time. Even before I snap a picture where I have a certain color arrangement I see I like, even before I can snap the picture, it has already changed. Probably to something I like just as well, but it just never holds still for long. I read a lot of books on my YouTube channel. If you go and look at my playlist, you'll see that I read a lot of books about light. Walter Russell's book, The Secret of Light, is one that is most popular that I read. Also read his books, The Divine Iliad 1 and The Divine Iliad 2. And a lot of these books I have in my Google Drive, which is a online, place for gathering all that you've got on documents and files that is shareable. And I send these books all the time this way to people who ask for it. If you look at my playlist, you'll see most of the books I read. I also have, you won't see that from the playlist that I have it, but I do have a file that I can send people, which I call Books I Read on YouTube. And in that file is listed the ones that I also have in my Google Drive, because a lot of people want to read for themselves. But a lot of people that listen to me read books, they like it because maybe they're dyslexic, maybe they're too busy to have time to sit down and read, maybe they like to listen while they're getting other things done. Some of them even put them on the little devices that they carry, and they go and jog or something and listen to a book being read. Little MP3 players or something like that. And I get a lot of friends this way. They're not friends that you're going to have a everyday conversation with just now and then, but they're from all over the world. A lot of people subscribe to my channel and they're from the Netherlands, or they're from the UK or Canada or Australia. I got a subscriber from Israel the other day. Now and then Mexico and France and Croatia. I get a lot of people from Croatia and several countries. I mean to make a list of them sometime, but then I think, well, nah, I don't want to bother. I just enjoy looking to see of my subscribers what they call themselves. Their names are so funny. And when you can make a name for yourself, that is just in itself a fun thing to do, to have a YouTube channel where you call yourself this or that, and it's usually something that is one of your great interests in life that you call yourself. Now, I call myself the Dove Lady, but I lost that name on YouTube. I used to have it all the time, but they always sent some little dialogue box down that said, "Did you know you could use your whole name?" And I would ignore it because I didn't want to do that. I didn't really understand what it would do if I used my whole name. But the dialogue box kept dropping down and wouldn't go away even after I tried many times to get past the dialogue box so that I could go ahead and do what I wanted to do in there. So one day I just answered the thing. I said, "Okay, use my whole name." Woe and behold, it took away the Dove Lady. And now I'm just called Grace Butler. And it wouldn't let me get back my old name, the Dove Lady. But still, I call myself that. And why? You might wonder, why do I call myself the Dove Lady? Well, it's because of the automatic handwriting that came to me one day when I was wanting to fold the crane. I had read the story about Sadako and the Thousand Cranes, and a woman at the Peace Pilgrim Center had taught me how to fold the crane. And I had put all of the folds of the crane on separate pages of a notebook. And I thought, well, I will want to fold this again someday and I might forget, so I did that. So the day came that I thought I wanted to fold the crane again. And there it was, all set up for me. Each fold was on a different sheet of notebook paper. And automatic handwriting happened at that time, and I just started writing a story that I didn't do any thinking about. It just came to me very rapidly too. And I would turn the page to the next fold, and the story continued, and it's a beautiful story. I call it the Dove story, because in this story, Spirit told me at the beginning that it wouldn't be called the crane, it would be called the dove, because the dove represented peace, and that's what our world needs so much. And it was a beautiful story, and you can find it on my playlist. It's called the Dove Story Children's Version, and I try to illustrate it as best I can. Anyway, I did give a copy of that to my sisters, who were not impressed at all. I've had the dove story way long now. It's been several years. But back when it first came to me, I was so excited I wanted to share it with everyone. And I was met with no interest or, well, the devil can appear as an angel of light, No interest in the contents of what the story told. It was a beautiful message it gives about love. I hope some of you that are watching this will go to my playlist. I will put that playlist over in the description bar for the dove story, in case anyone wants to listen to it. It really needs to be made into a book and illustrated by someone who is a great artist, because it needs some artistic illustration to go with it. You don't have to go anywhere to be enlightened. You can be right within your own room, and you just can converse with God, the God that lives inside of you. He's your best friend. He knows you intimately and loves you very much. And at first when you talk to that spirit inside of you, you think you're just making it up. You think, oh, I am going bonkers. I'm going crazy. I'm talking to myself and answering myself. But don't worry, because if you're earnest and you're not just merely curious or just playing around or having a joke or something, if you're earnest, if you're sincere, you're going to get answers. And you will think, well, it's just your imagination. But then that is where everything happens, in imagination. We are made in God's image, in God's imagination. God uses imagination to bring us into life. That's what I'm thinking. We are made in His image, in His imagination. And we become nations of people. How about that? Image a nation. You see little kids playing pretend things, and they enjoy their little pretend games. I've listened to them before. They're always happy because when they play their pretend game, they can be anything they want to be. And they get excited about something that to us seems like it's not real. But to them it's real. And we lose that ability to be like little children and pretend because we think, oh, well, that's just my imagination. I shouldn't pay any attention to that. But we should. And we should try to imagine good instead of imagining evil. And when we think of our fellow man and we see them doing something we don't like, we shouldn't send thoughts of, I hate you for that. We should send good thoughts to them and try to see the best in them. Even if they're pretty terrible, we can send them our love, and not just like some religions do and send them to the pit of hell. That kind of hate has no place. It's not good to wish the very worst thing you could on anyone, such as what people imagine hell to be like. I think they make their own hell right here in this life that we're living now. And we make our own heaven here too. And it's done with our thoughts and with our imagination. You don't want to imagine anything being true of another that you would not want to have thought of as being true about yourself. Because it does happen that if you hate something with enough intensity, you become like the thing that you hate. But change your perception of the things you see and you call. Change your perception and those things will change that you see. Because we're creating this world with our imagination. We need to use it wisely. And the battle that is on right now, if you would say there is a war, it's over the minds of men. There are people out there who want us to get into fear and hate. And they broadcast their fear and their hate as much as they can through the means of the internet and the actions and the groups' activities they get involved in. But I would say stay away from them because it's not necessary. We don't want to have our expectations of what we hate come true because we are creating with our thoughts. Always remember that. If things are bad, we've made them bad with our thoughts. But when we start being grateful and being happy, because happiness is a choice, we can choose happiness, then things change in our lives and things get better. But if we want to dwell on the negative, we can have the proof always before us that we were right. The negative thing we feared would happen, happened, and now we don't see that we were any part of helping it about because of our thoughts. Okay, that one finished out. And I'm at 42 minutes. Dare I try to show another one? Oh, I'll show you some of these that I go up real close in. When I get inside an orb with the camera focused up real close, and this is with my older camera that has artifacts. It has these little things like this little worm looking thing right here. And there's another thing, there's several things in here. This is one of the artifacts. That's one. This used to be the only one I had, but they grew. I kind of think there's something living inside that camera. I really do. Because it looks kind of like a pea pod, and that's not debris. Debris doesn't come in this form. And it looks real similar to some of the things around it that are part of the orb. But see, these are things that stay stationary in certain parts of the camera. They seldom move about in there. They're always pretty much in the same place. So I considered them artifacts that were just inside my camera that showed up in every picture. But my new camera didn't have them. I want to freeze this one. I'll show you something. Oops, go back. This little thing right here. Oh, it's trying to bring it forward, but I got it on pan and zoom. But anyways, this little double jointed looking thing. Let me see if I can focus it on it this way. This little thing right here. Weird looking. And then this is weird looking. Well, guess what? These showed up in my new camera. These little artifacts showed up in some of the orbs and pictures I take with my new camera had these same kind of little things that seemed to be stuck in my old camera. And this double jointed thing, I found it. I thought, oh wow, this is what is in my old camera, and now here it is in my new camera. So maybe it's not just something stuck in my camera, or maybe it is. I don't know. I don't know the intricacies of cameras or how to manipulate things to make things like I want them to be, you know, how to do photoshopping and that sort of thing. I don't know. I don't experiment rather with that sort of thing. Because I like the pictures I get. All I do to them is just adjust the darkness and the light, because that brings it into clarity. But I don't want to put any different hues than what are there. And I don't want to alter it in any way or take out things I don't like this little thing right here. I call it the fairy because it looks like a little fairy when you see it sometimes. Up close when it's not as dark, it looks like a little figure with wings. But I just have to be content to know that there are things I don't understand, and they're just going to remain a mystery until they're not. But as long as they are, me adjust my camera back. I have to accept them as that. Which takes a little discipline because the mind wants to figure everything out. We want to know. We want to know causes. We want to understand. We want to analyze. But what we don't understand is that sometimes when we do that, we fix our ideas upon that we view. And it can't change because we have a fixed idea of what it is, which stays in place as long as we have that fixed idea, if enough of us do. And it's a limitation to try to analyze and define everything all the time. So I've learned how to just let go of that desire to want to understand every little thing and speak with the wisdom of the scientific mind that can tell you exactly what this is, in technical terms that you won't understand, but makes you sound like you know what you're talking about when you don't. Live with the mystery. It's a mystery. I don't know what all these little circles are. I don't know how tiny this is, but I do know that if this digital camera and things that shine if they are truly indeed the best microscope that I've ever seen, then that is an accomplishment to have found a way to get microscopic views of light, which is what I think I have here. And whether we want to call it the ether or just light, some people say, they comment, this is just light. I said, yes, it is light, but light is little understood. We need to know more about what inhabits light. I think there's life. I think there are light creatures that inhabit the light. And there's much we need to understand about it. So I'm never going to be ashamed, even if I say there's living creatures inside my camera. If I think that, I think that. Until someone proves me wrong, if anyone ever showed enough interest to try to prove me wrong. Mostly I just get ignored. I mean, all these beautiful pictures. And no one in my immediate family here is even interested to look and see all these pictures I'm taking right here in my room. All this is right here in my room. We're swimming in many worlds, in many landscapes of color, and all kinds of stuff we don't know the first thing about. And maybe the very first thing to know